And it's such an
Mommy's
awesome
friend.
gift. I'm like,
It's
damn,
such an awesome gift.
such a good gift.
Damn
You
it.
know, it'd be different if the gift was trash, because then you
Right?
could be like, "Ha, son, he doesn't even know your favorites." But sadly,
Forgot
if you
it.
got me a Thanos fucking Infinity Gauntlet, I'm hype. We're friends.
Like he didn't even
I don't
care
care.
about Jake. He was just like, look at my new thing. Who gave it to you? Oh, mom's friend Jake. But look at my
Yeah,
thing.
mom's son Jake, whatever. But look at this. That's the thing that sucks. He's not gonna care. Just keep getting him gifts.
Right?
It's fine.
Right? Ted,
He's
don't
not
worry
gonna
about it. Your
care.
son loves you. It's okay.
Right.
But I think that's gonna be
It's
the
all
back
right,
of Ted's
Dad. You
mind.
can stay in. You can stay in England. It's fine. It's fine. Jake's got it. Don't worry.
But I think, like Tim mentioned earlier,
Oh, that's gonna go. Oh no.
you're an idiot.
it's
I just realized what you
it's
said.
fine.
Hey, sports nerds, welcome to a Nerdy Bunch review of Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 1. My name's English Dave, and I'm joined by my nerds and sports nerds alike, Raven and Tim Sportsman. What's up, guys?
What's up?
What's up, Dave? Happy to be back here. Ted Lasso season 3. Let's go.
Do you know it's been 17 months since the last episode, Tim?
Yeah, man. October
Feels like it.
of
Feels like
2021.
it.
Insane.
Oof,
That was the last
17
podcast
months.
we did together. Back
Right?
when I was in Virginia.
Damn,
Oh
it's
my
been
god.
so long.
Mm.
Wow, that's crazy. But we are back, and I like what they've done here. You know, the theme of this episode, or one of the themes I should say, is this theme of separation and how do you come back together. This is a team that we've seen in previous season come together, but there's almost some kind of separation, be it them feeling separated because they've just gone to the Premier League but they're the bottom and nobody takes them seriously. They're laughing stock even though they came across as winners from previous season, to Ted feeling isolated and lonely himself, questioning, what should I stay here, should I go back home, my son, like, why am
Should
I
I stay or should I go
why am
now?
I staying here? To
Had
Keely
to.
and Roy, do we stay in this relationship? Their lives are completely changed. Keely's a successful businesswoman. Roy's a successful coach right now, and they're both, seemingly very busy. They're trying to figure out, what do we do? What do we do? Nate in a new position, doesn't know what to do. He's still, even though he's somewhere new, he's also isolated, trying to figure himself out. Rebecca, whole bunch of stuff's happening to her. She wants to prove herself. She thinks that Rupert is still doing better than her. She cares too much about what he thinks. Cares too much. All these things. Let's start off with Ted there. I think I love the opening sequence. It's almost mirrors season 1 at the airport, but it's his son leaving this time. I'll ask you first, Tim. What do you think of the son in this intro?
Yeah, I mean, it starts off, Ted's super sad. It's like flight 822 to Kansas. I'm like, oh no, like what's going on here? Is his son like about to leave him? And I'm like, okay, the season's about to start. And he gives him the little Lego Premier League trophy. And he's like, Dad,
Love
go
that.
win this. And that was by far the sappiest moment of the entire episode. I was like, oh no. And then, of course, he makes the CNN reference. I'm like, and then Ted's like, oh yeah, I fall asleep to CNN. It's like, well, I'm excited to go back to, like Henry says, I'm excited to go back to my toys, but not my like country with the political.
Political
I'm like,
landscape.
Jesus Christ, what's happening, Apple? You gotta do this to me.
It's very true. Facts.
And then going on with Raven, we're going to jump ahead. I think what I like with the son again is the setup of helping. Throughout the episode, Ted is questioning, like I said, whether he should be still around or not. And by the end of the episode, it's his son who convinces him, like, no, stay, win. Ted was still very much of the mindset of it's just it's all in the participation, right? Let's just have fun. And the son is like, no, try your best. What do you think of the addition of the son, seemingly, like, in terms of the narrative in this episode?
You're asking me.
Yeah,
Okay. No, I appreciate that angle because, again, we got to see in the end of last season or all of season 2 that, Ted has daddy issues and, he has feelings of abandonment from his father. So being a part of his kid's life and being present in his son's life is a really big deal to him. So to be missing out on, watching his kid grow and being there, year round to take care of his son, to do a game that he's not necessarily like to coach or manage a sport that he's not necessarily passionate about. You have to question those things. And I do appreciate that it's actually his son that's saying, no, dad, like, go win this, go get out there, and that's really what he needs. And it's the truth. Honestly, like, I'm not a huge football, slash soccer fan. But at the same time, I do love this season and I do love really good games. Like, I'll watch any good sports match and I'm like, all right. But either way, I don't follow the sport necessarily, but at the same time, I also was kind of triggered by, you know, uh, Ted's kind of nonchalant attitude towards this season. I was like, after all we've been through, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, you even found out that you were only hired as a means to sabotage, the
Rupert.
owner's right, so to sabotage Rupert, who's the owner's ex-husband. Like, once you found that out, that should have been even more motivation. You should have really been like, I'm gonna prove myself. Not if we get 21st, it's all right. Fuck that. So I'm happy that, you know, Ted's gonna give a shit. Hopefully Richmond can bring home a trophy. Blah!
At least beat West Ham. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's clearly their rival
At
for
but
bare
many, many reasons.
at
they're a
bare
good team.
minimum,
We hate Nate. We hate
whoop
Rupert.
West Ham's ass. Oh, I fucking hate Rupert. I
I
hate the
love
whole
Rupert's
fucking
like dark,
squad. I hate
dark
the
office. It's
actors.
so
Like
black.
So
like the
good.
actors are amazing because of the fact that, like, I don't even know Rupert. I
He's
don't think I've
he's
ever
from the
seen him in
original
anything before
Buffy
this.
TV series.
That makes sense. I
Yeah,
have
back
seen
in
him
the day.
before, but either way, it's like I fucking hate his face. You
You're doing
know?
it right.
Perfect
Like,
casting.
it's still early. I don't know this, man. I hate his face. I shouldn't feel this way, but I do. The smug bastard.
Right. Right.
So
And
yeah,
it's
like I
funny.
said, a lot of drama this
Yeah, but
season.
but
And
you're
it's
right,
funny because for a
Reagan.
lot of
Like, Rebecca's like, Ted, I want the Ted that was spitting Pellegrino in my face
right.
right after we lost to Man City, being like, we're gonna get promoted and then we're gonna win it the next year. And then all of a sudden, a year and a half later in our timeline, he's like, I think we'll do fairly well. We don't need to add anybody. I like the
At least
guy.
we're
We'll
here.
do fine. It's like,
Right.
nah,
Like, come on
nah,
now.
we don't want that.
Especially like we're all trying to win this now, you know?
Hmm.
Like, losing was for season 1.
Right.
We didn't stick it out this far for you to be awesome. Oh, whatever happens, happens, especially being that this was announced as
Mhm.
the last season
Right. Right.
of
Right.
Ted Lasso. I'm gonna need to see Richmond whip some ass. I don't
Right.
care necessarily if we take a trophy home at the end, if we win it all. But bare minimum, I want to see West Ham's ass get whooped hard.
That's all you need to
So
know. Don't worry
yeah,
about the
Right.
4-4
right.
too.
I got the gist
Ted
of it.
barely knows it. It took him 3 seasons to learn it, thanks to FIFA.
Right.
Right.
Oh, thank God.
Which I love that too,
I do
because
like that.
most of my sports knowledge is from video games,
Yeah, of
actually.
course.
That's a good way to
Funny
learn.
enough, I could chat it up with the best of them about NBA for the most part. And it's hilarious because people really assume I watch any of the current roster. No, I'm just very, very, very into NBA
There you go.
2K. And I play it so much to where I know everybody's stats. And by having conversation with people, I'm able to be like, well, no, this team's going to lose because their fucking starting team is ass. And I'll know everybody's season stats and shit. And they're like,
Yeah.
what? In my head, I'm like, well, that's what shows up in my pause screen or like when we're in timeouts, it
Because it's
compares all the
updated.
stats. Right. Like I'm just looking at it. So, you retain a lot more knowledge than you think playing these sports video games. But it
Tip of
has
the
made
week.
me want to play FIFA. I'm considering it now just
Oh,
so I know what the fuck's going
you
on.
should. You should. Super
It's
young,
like the
right?
Jamie Tart,
Getting young.
you know? He comes
Yeah.
in, oh
Yeah.
my God, I can't tell you. Like, his new haircut pissed me off for no
It's just
reason.
poopy.
Like, it's all dyed, and I'm like, and he's like,
But that's
we're here.
that's that's David Beckham.
Was it? We're all about like everybody and part of us all. I have the line here. I have the line here. I need it. Uh,
It's just
Jamie
poopy.
It's just
says right
poopy.
here.
Let it
He's like,
flow
and
through you.
together we've got me. It's like we're gonna do this together, and together we've got me.
I love
I
it.
So
can
Jamie
tell you
Tart.
his is the best journey. Yeah, we talk about it like his again opposite of Nate, right? He went from the villain and is one of the heroes that we like. And in fact, in this episode, we'll get to it later. He's the one that kind of reminds them, like Raven said, it's just poopy. But for them to learn that lesson, Ted decides to take him on a class outside trip. I like this analogy, right? Because it's like like everyone in the show, we're like, where's this going? Taking them down to the sewer. I thought it was going to be one of those like legit fancy underground tours where you're going to be like, whoa, this hidden underground. Like, no, it's the actual sewers itself. It's not anything fancy. But what I liked about it, and I'll go to you, Raven, and this connects back to the son again. Inspired by his son. His son, we get earlier on that he was scared because he accidentally watched the whole movie It on the plane. And he got scared, so he wanted to go on the sewer tour so he can see it's not scary. But I like the analogy of this internal system that's connected that people don't see, that is just let to make sure the poopy just flows right through. Don't let it hit you, let it flow right through. Raven, what did you think of this whole moment of bringing the team together?
I love any Ted team building moment, really. I mean, like, do we ever really have a problem with Ted team building moments? Love that. The analogy I felt was a bit extreme. I would be very
Very Ted.
upset if anyone brought me into a sewer, whether they wanted to tell me something or not. You could just show me pictures. You could have broke down the whole history. I could have listened to that above ground, but all right. But it was very Ted. Love Ted. And I like the team's reaction, and I love the quote of "It's just poopy,"
It's just
and I'll
poopy.
probably say it for the rest of my life.
Let it flow through you. Other people just talking shit. They're just talking shit. Let it flow through you.
Yep,
Don't let it hit you.
I love it.
And
And
someone,
I love that it comes back. I love that even
yes.
when Rebecca's like, "What's going on here?" Everyone's just like, "Just let it flow,"
Well,
you
which
know.
is
It's just
again,
shit.
which is
It's great.
with Jamie, when they started getting upset, and then Ted was going to jump in, and then Coach's like, no, 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 let them figure out themselves. Jamie's the one that's like, hey guys, relax, it's just poopy,
Just
it's
poop
just
it.
poopy. Um, in terms of learning to let it go and the poopy out of you, talking about that, we mentioned Rebecca. Tim, I want to talk
Sure.
to you. Rebecca, she kind of tells everyone that she's upset that the team is being looked at as failures, but deep down, it's really that she still has these. I don't want to say feelings or emotions, but she still lets Rupert's narrative affect her, right? And in talking to Keely, and at first she thinks she's right. And talking to Keely, she learns from Keely, like, hey, let Ted be Ted. What do you think of Rebecca's kind of reintroduction in in this season so far, and her learning to let it flow like poopy?
Well, I mean, it's clear she's caught up. Ted's still caught up on his ex, Michelle, and same with Rebecca, and that's why they relate so well. Rebecca's still caught up on Rupert, and she's like, I need to beat him. It's not about Richmond beating West Ham. It's about me beating him.
Them,
It's West Ham. Yeah. I
them,
just thought I'd give you a little accent. You're
them.
talking about
Yeah.
accents. So, it's about like me beating my ex. But when you're caught up like that, you're not going to be your best self. Yeah, I mean, she
she
just wants to beat Rupert. It's straight up. That's all that matters.
Keely tears.
Yeah, Keely tears. I love what Higgins. Higgins shows his Keely tears as well. It's like I've watched this like how many times.
It's crazy she puts that on her face. I love Higgins.
Raven.
I love Higgins so much. He might be like my secret
Oh, he's the
favorite
best. 100% the
in the
best.
show, like without me even realizing. But every time he shows up on screen, I'm just overjoyed. I'm like, God damn it, I
He's got
love
the
this
perfect
guy.
lines. You don't need to be the star. He's there for the
Right.
Every
hitters.
time he pops up, I'm like, ah, I love Higgins. Right, just to show us his shirt. It's just, it's
I love it.
comedic
It's just like
gold.
straight away. As Raven, let's talk about Keely and Roy when they have the talk with Phoebe. And it was interesting because at first I was like, what's this talk going to be about? And afterwards I realized, oh, they're breaking up. But Raven, but why? What do you think of that?
Honestly, I felt the same way.
Right?
Like even in the end of season 2, when Roy was like, "Oh, I don't know if I fit in with her," blah blah blah. I was like, "Ah, shut up, Roy."
Seriously, Roy.
It was like, "Oh, shut up, you're fine." And I think that's Roy is insecure. We've seen it a lot. Roy has his
He's a
own
tough man.
issues, right? And he has his issues with vulnerability and feelings and things. And I'm
And running.
sure that, right? And I'm sure that him asking, I
Everyone
love
but
this
Roy
one.
run.
Everyone but Roy run. um, but yeah, I love that. Like ultimately, Roy's really only breaking up with Keely, or they're only breaking up because they're scared. Keely obviously doesn't want to break up.
They were taking a
Because Roy's like, we're breaking up. She's like a break, and Roy thinks that Right. And even when Keely's like, she's just not going on vacation with him, he's like, we breaking up? It's like, bro, what? Chill out. So it's like, in the end of season 2, I kind of was already like, meh, like Roy, he'll get over it. So in the beginning of, in this now, where they're actually breaking up, quote unquote, I was like, oh, really? And I kind of felt like the niece, where I was like,
Like
but
why?
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 So I do love those moments because sometimes you need kids or friends or innocent folk to kind of just question why. And, when you really have no reason why, maybe you should try it out.
And
Maybe you should test things and see where they go. Because I love Roy and Keely.
right. But what else?
Even though they're kind of like opposites, they're perfect for each other.
And what I like about Phoebe's kind of advice, she's not saying you guys should be together. She's like, don't not be together because of fear of the reasons of not
Right,
having actually strong reasons. She goes, my mom and dad
right,
divorced when I was 4, so I already believe nothing lasts forever. Which I
right. Which I
but
love.
but it doesn't mean don't be together. You're gonna be stupid. Like if you have a
Right,
reason, have a reason. Just don't do it out of fear. And I love, you know, usually I don't like the will they won't they narratives and stories, but I do like Keely and Roy's story because their stories are also very reflective of their characters, their characteristics. And so it's
right,
individually and together. And seeing this journey, they're both scared. They both clearly
right.
want to be with each other, but they're also both feeling like, let me give the other person space. Because, sometimes you start assuming what the other person wants. Like, oh, you're successful in what you're doing. Maybe you need your space and we don't have time for each other, blah, blah, blah.
Or
Keely,
they assume that they want more
mm-hmm,
now.
mm-hmm.
Like, oh, well, I'm busy and you're busy and I can't be there for you. But, like, you're not
Yeah.
asking for
Like,
that.
yeah, just realize. Like, big changes
Just chill out.
are always overwhelming.
The vulnerability of these characters, like you're talking about, like Roy's insecurities, Keely's insecurities, Ted's insecurities, and they show it and they share it, and they're there to build each other, and that's why we hate Nate so much. Like, let's get to Nate. Like, goddamn, we hate Nate, right? Like West Ham, Rupert, Nate, that
You
dark
hate
Let's get
office
to
Nate.
Nate.
server, and Nate's got a
Nate
new
rhymes
fancy
with
car
hate.
now
What I
Fuck
too.
you,
like,
Nate.
He's spitting on the floor.
right?
Oh my
In
god,
Nate,
it's
we hate.
disgusting.
Though I feel like with that car, I feel like with that car, Rupert is
Oh,
like,
for
I own you
sure.
now.
Right.
He was
Hook,
like,
Yeah, right.
this
line,
must be like
sinker.
one of
Got
the janitor's cars. Like, my coach can't show up in this.
it.
Let me give you like an Austin
It's
Martin or
like I
something.
own you. I own you. But what I think is interesting about Nate, again, it's always been interesting about him, is that he's one of those people that you can tell he was either bullied or had some
Yeah.
kind of issues as a kid. But then he's one of those that's gone through the narrative where when he has the power, he feels that's how he has to act. Like you're at West Ham now, you're the head coach, the wonder kid, and you're still a dick to everyone here. Like Raven, what do you think of Nate and his the dum dum line and all that stuff?
Ugh. I can't stand Nate. Like, first of all, I hate shitty people, like
Right, just for the sake
regardless
of it.
of your upbringing. Like, I don't care what the fuck your background is. If you suck, you suck. But I especially hate when people who have, you know,
Power.
I don't know, yeah, like been what is it, marginalized or been like,
Yeah.
or had it rough growing up. It's like for you to in turn do that to others, especially when people technically weren't always like that. Like you got uplifted from people being nice.
Hmm.
Like you wouldn't be in the position you were in unless people were like, let's not be dicks. So it's like, why wouldn't you want to be that guy? Why wouldn't you want to be like a Ted in that situation and uplift people and help people instead of being the side of Ted that you don't like, that you ended up, starting a whole what I want to say nemesis against. That doesn't make sense. A whole vendetta against.
Hmm.
It's fucking stupid. So I hate it. I hate Nate because it's like, bro, you should be super humble, super kind, and super nice, and you should be telling your story about how people
Mm.
treat the help like shit. And you should help spread the message of like, this is why you treat people right. Cause look at me, instead of like, I'm gonna be a dick so I can further prove while people threw dirty underwear in my face. You deserved it now, Nate. Maybe they just knew you were a dirty dude.
I
Handle the dirty
But now
clothes.
right.
he's got the power. And when you have the power, you can
Got the
show
power.
what type of person you want
Right.
other people to be. And
He's
that's what
still
Ted's all
clean, but
about.
with dirty
And
drawers.
Keely's like, let Ted be Ted. And that's why we love Ted. It's written
Let
perfect.
Ted be Ted.
When,
That's why we love
the
Ted.
commentators
That's
come
And we
Ted.
at
hate
Ted and they're
Nate.
like, what do you think about Nate's comments? He's like, well, I think he's a great guy. We hired him for a reason. I knew he'd do great things, and he's going to be great at West Ham. While on the other side of it, Nate
Love
is
that whole scene.
insecure, almost can't even handle the press conference. It takes him spitting on the floor to psych
Love that.
him back up, just like the spitting in the mirror from last season. He hates himself, and it's clear, and he's looking for this external validation. He's searching on Twitter to be like, yeah, everybody loves me, everybody loves me. And when people just say, hi, good morning, coach, he just like doesn't even respond to them. He thinks he's so much better than everybody all of a sudden, now that Rupert is giving him this power and money and cars. It's disgusting.
I did like
Yeah.
both press conferences. I think Raven, I want to get to you with this one. The difference between the two reactions from both coaches, essentially, right? You have Nate, who his only way, he's not confident at all. He's shaking. The only way he can throw confidence is to insult people, insult the press, insult Ted, and that's when he feels good because everyone's like egging him on because like an insult. And Ted, he doesn't care about all that. He's just there to have fun. And even though he needed a push from his son to be like, okay, it's good to have fun, but also win. Ted, he has this a different visual. He's happy to talk to the press. He's more of a people person. People love him, and they enjoy his character. And he's better at balancing those two. What did you think of that differences between both of them having their press conferences?
Well, I love that. I love that we get to see it visually. That we get to see how each coach kind of handles not only the press conference, but I guess the reaction to the press, how they deal with the press leading up to it, like the fact that Ted compliments all of the reporters. Ted remembers all the reporters.
Marcus from the
Something as
Independent.
simple as,
Woo!
ooh. I do miss Trent, so I'm excited for Trent to come back. We know Trent's
Who
coming
we?
back
I love the new guy
independently.
from the
Right.
Independent. He kind of has
I
that
hope
Trent feel. He definitely has the hard
he
hitting
does seem
Yeah.
cool,
questions,
and
just
I
like Trent.
like him. He
Not an
has the
asshole.
Trent feel.
Of
But I
course.
hope to see Trent
Yeah.
also. Like, I hope that we get an addition because I fucking love Trent.
Okay.
I just love
Well, yeah,
Trent's
doesn't he
hair
have his own
mostly.
thing now? He got fired.
Well, Trent is
Yeah,
independent
he is
now.
independent. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah, he's Trent is literally the independent. But yeah, so I love that Ted gets to know people. I feel like it's the same as like you hear with certain celebrities, especially like, um, generations before us, where it was like they used to treat certain people like crap or whatever, and then years later, and now with things like, Instagram and TikTok and all these things, they're being caught, in these situations, or those same people are now the ones who are employing them, and you see a lot of these same actors and things aren't getting work. It's like when you treat people, you treat a PA like shit, and then they become your showrunner.
Mm-hmm.
Now what? So I do love that. It's the opposite because ultimately, those people always get theirs. So I feel like with Nate, it's only a matter of time before he gets the old phrase, what do they call it? Egg in the face.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for see Nate's demise. But also being that this is episode 1, I'm like, we're gonna hate him so
So
much
much,
more
so much.
before we get that satisfying knock him off his pedestal moment. And I'm like, ugh,
Well,
I'm already over it.
well,
I'm
here's the
already over
thing.
it. But I absolutely love that Ted just keeps getting more and more wholesome. And
Well, that's the
he's what
thing
I
with.
hang on to in a dark world.
Well, that's on. I want to mention in terms of Ted's wholesomeness, right? Sometimes it's like annoyingly wholesome, and that's why I talk to you about
Mm,
Tim. Raven mentions about the downfall of Nate. I don't think it will play out like we did because again, we mentioned this off podcast when the final conversation he has with his son before he goes to bed, Henry. Henry's like, "But you're still
Yeah.
friends, right? Why is Nate off to the side?" And it makes Ted think like, "Huh,
true.
Well,
damn
we
it."
all know if Nate had that Lego
I
set,
hope not,
Ted
because
would be
so
like
far
in
it
this
hasn't
bunker,
been
like in this dark cave.
right.
I thought that we open up the episode.
Yeah,
I was like, oh,
surrounded by
there's Nate in the
fire.
corner. Like, I thought it was nice that he was still like looking on. Because remember when he was like the first season when he was too scared to be on the pitch? And then Ted was like, hey, come on, come
Mhm.
on. So it's cool, actually, that Henry has those Ted like qualities, like father, like son. But yeah, it's a little too much, but I think the humor is a good
Mhm.
balance with Ted. So it's not too sappy.
Ra- Raven, Mummy's friend Jake Thanos.
Yeah,
And it's such an
mommy's
awesome
friend.
gift. I'm like,
It's
dang,
such an awesome gift.
such a good gift.
Damn
You
it.
know, it'd be different if the gift was trash, because then you
Right?
could be like, "Ha, son, he doesn't even know your favorite."
This
You
guy.
know, fuck
Yeah,
Jake. Jake doesn't even know you.
Mommy's
You
friend
know,
Jake.
right,
Like
right. It would be
Henry,
like
I love how
it'd be
Henry
like
sells it.
getting me a Batman mask. You know what
Right?
I'm saying? It's like this is, you know. But sadly,
forgot
if you
that.
got me a Thanos fucking Infinity Gauntlet, I'm hype. We're friends.
Like he didn't even
I don't
care
care.
about Jake. He was just like, look at my new thing. Who gave it to you? Oh, mom's friend Jake. But look at my
Yeah,
thing.
mom's son Jake, whatever. But look at this. That's the thing that sucks. He's not gonna care. Just keep getting him gifts.
Right?
It's fine.
Right? Ted,
He's
don't
not
worry
gonna
about it. Your
care.
son loves you. It's okay.
Right.
But I think that's gonna be
It's
the
all
back
right,
of Ted's
Dad. You
mind.
can stay in. You can stay in England. It's fine. It's fine. Jake's got it. Don't worry.
But I think, like Tim mentioned earlier,
Oh, that's gonna go. Oh no.
you're an idiot.
it's,
I just realized what you
it's
said.
fine. You
But
can stay, Dad. You know, just go win. Win.
just
It's
win,
great,
just
Dad.
win.
Yeah,
But
Right. I'll be over here snapping my fingers, hoping for the best with my new gauntlet.
but I think Tim, you hit it on the head. I think this is also a reminder that Ted is still also caught up on his ex, you know, and maybe not
oh
necessarily
yeah.
her specifically, but the life they had together.
I
The,
think
the
I think he's
prior
also
life.
caught up
Yeah,
on the
he looks at
failure.
the
Yes,
text. I
yes,
love you. Have a safe flight. He hands Nate. Sorry, he hands Henry back the phone. It's like, oh, your
yeah,
mom texted you. But just seeing those words from her just
yeah.
brings it back up.
And
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
tough.
one of those things that I can imagine because I've never divorced, but I can imagine, especially when the kids involved, this is the first reminder or one of the reminders that says, oh, they're moving on. You know, because it's always like until they move to a different person, there's probably some kind of subconscious, like, oh, maybe somehow, no matter how small, but now she's moving on. This is the
Sure.
first step of that full. That's it. She's moved on from you, and I think that's
Yeah,
all
she's
right.
got a new
Yeah.
friend
Right.
now.
Who-
Got a new
Who's
I also
friend.
feel like no, sorry, I'm just saying like I feel like Ted is more sad about his failure than the actual like his actual wife itself.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I feel like even like throughout season 1 and 2, you never really hear him like talk about his like wife. You
No,
hear
it's
him
not about
talk
her
about like his
specifically. No.
relationship dynamic, like, you know, and like the fact that he was married. You never hear him like, oh, I'm so sad. I'm having an anxiety attack. I really miss my wife right now. Or like, I'm going through things so badly that like I can only call my wife or my ex wife to fix it. Or, you know, like, I feel like there's never really many moments that we get that show that like Ted is sad because of his relationship. It's like Ted is sad he lost, or not lost, but like, you know, lost like this life thing, you
Yeah,
know, it's
yeah.
this life challenge, it's this thing
Yeah,
he's supposed to achieve, like, you know,
This picture.
he's like right, it's like I failed at this perfect imagery of what my life was supposed to be, you know, and that's it. But I don't feel like he really had much like romantic love for his wife at this point, you know. So it's like as much as it might be hard to let it go, it's like she deserves Jake, you know, somebody to like care and lust after her, possibly. Like Ted, you was, you know, you gotta do your own thing. You know, you've been worried about this team, like, and that's fine, but like you've really been going for at least what, 2 years? I don't know how the seasons work,
But I
but at
think,
least 2 years. Like,
and I think
you know,
I think you're
yeah,
right.
it's been like
there's
3 years
bound to
now.
be a Jake. There's bound
Of
to be a
course.
Jake eventually. And
Uh,
it's sad and it
Of
must
course,
be tough to
he
deal
needs to
with.
move on too.
But you
He
know,
needs a new girl. Rebecca needs a new guy.
right,
Keely and Roy need to figure their shit out, get back together.
right. Because come on now, who are they
Yeah,
fooling?
sure.
Seriously. But
Yeah,
I think you know, right, in terms of what hurts him more is not necessarily that mom's with a new friend, is that new friend is building a relationship with his son. And I think, you know, that's what
In
hits
his
in his
absence.
absence, like you said. Yeah. And because he always talks about his father and the parental neglect. Even when he's talking to Sharon early on, he talks about parental neglect. The story about his teacher got hit by a train, didn't see it coming.
that might kill
Neither
it.
did Mr.
Like,
Marr.
like, yeah, you didn't see it coming either. Sharon's like, yeah, I didn't see that coming.
um, Roy, I like Roy and Beard together.
Who?
Roy and Beard,
Yeah.
Coach Beard and Roy together.
Like,
When he's like, I watch Hoses, good movie. Those who don't know,
With the name.
yeah, why they call him Who's?
if you don't know, Hoosiers is a basketball movie. It's like a small town Indiana high school
Mm-hmm.
basketball team that enters the state championship. Is there a narrative connection here? Huh?
Coach
Small town
Carter.
that gets into
Small
Gets into this
town,
bigger thing.
comes out of nowhere.
Every
Fundamentals.
10 years.
Nate may have the tactics. Ted knows how to lead, and
I
that
feel like
Right.
every
he knows
10
how to
years
get
is
people
one
to
of
get.
these kind of movies, like, but it's like a movie, Every 10
I
years
love
is like there's a basketball movie of this decade, or like
right.
there's a different one you didn't know about from the 70s that we're going to make now.
Yeah,
I did like
if I watched Hoosiers today, I definitely would feel so old.
Right.
But that's when movies are rough. Like sometimes I'm like, how's the score moving around
right.
so much, or like what's going on?
Right.
You know, last one with the Love and Basketball. But I'm like, I thought she was nice, for a movie, for a
Right.
girl that never played
Wow, we
basketball
did
before.
do Love and
We did.
Basketball
Great,
podcast.
great,
That was
great
Yeah,
funny.
podcast.
it
You
was
guys
good
got to
times.
check that out. Shameless plug.
Definitely. I liked.
I don't know if Richmond wins. I think that would be a little too
Yeah.
cliche, but they can't get bottom
No.
three. I can't see them getting
I think.
relegated. That's what going back to teaching about the
I
Premier League.
think.
Bottom three get relegated. Top four move to the biggest championship.
Champions League.
It's the biggest tournament ever. So top four is a big deal. You don't
Nice.
want to be bottom three, and you definitely want to be top
I
four.
don't know if Richmond will win. I don't think so either, and I don't know if they'll be top 4. But I guarantee they're setting up that the goal is to beat West Ham. Like that will be the win.
Oh yeah,
The win that'll be like doesn't
yeah,
matter where you are, we're beating West Ham. And what I find
Yeah.
yeah.
interesting is that we're making almost West Ham the enemy. West Ham's a real team.
Ooh.
Like we're using
I
it
was
as
What
a
if
real
about to
team.
West
ask
Ham
that.
gets
I was
like
going to say,
fifth
is
at
West
the end
Ham
of
a
the
real
year?
West
team?
Ham is a real team.
Yeah,
Are
they're all
they
real
actual
teams.
good real team?
They're
They're
fine. They're like
fine.
Okay, they're like
Yeah,
mid to
standard.
low tier.
they're mid. Yeah, let's see where they're at.
They're like
They
a
are.
comfortable position in the league kind of thing.
Like you're not gonna
Oh,
shit on them.
they're 17th right
Yeah.
now in
Out
the
of
Premier League.
20?
They're actually pretty
Yeah.
fresh. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
20 teams.
So you're pretty low.
Remember, 18, 19, 20 get relegated, so they're
In real life.
they're right on
17
the
seems like,
on
yeah,
the
so they're sweating.
Yeah.
17's not
No.
good.
They're
Yeah,
But I
sweating.
find it
All right.
interesting that they're using in terms of
It's
narratively,
stressful at
right?
17.
Because usually we've had real teams where we've never had them be fully part of the narrative, like fully included, like the team that is the
no,
narrative.
they went
So
in.
it's like West Ham. So I'm finding it
Yeah,
interesting how that deal worked because it's like also you're portrayed as the villains. Like, did you allow that to
Yeah.
happen?
sure.
I find it
Like
interesting.
now there's going to be
Well,
random strangers in America that
Right?
know
Fuck you,
absolutely
West Ham.
nothing about football or soccer. That's like, fuck you,
hate
West
West
Ham.
Ham.
And they're
Nate's
going
your
to be
coach.
so confused. I don't even
Well,
know how the game works, but I know I hate you. Fuck you, Nate. Like, he's not our real coach.
he's not there.
He doesn't even
Well,
go
bad news
here.
is
What the
good
hell?
news. They'll take the views. They'll take those eyeballs.
Right. Hey,
This is
true.
true. We like okay.
Yeah.
Going to be one
Did,
of the most
did you
popular
wait? Did you
teams.
pay for a ticket? Okay, took your shit.
But the funny thing, though, is they're just going to have a whole crowd full of, like, trolls.
Right,
People that just naturally side with villains.
right, true. They'll get all those.
Oh,
All
for
those.
sure.
Definitely. Americans.
But
It's like me being an Eagles fan in New York.
Right.
I hate it all day. Yeah.
but to
Yeah.
end the
I just
podcast
walk
there.
outside. They're like, "Your fans suck." I'm like, "Bro, I'm not. I just like a team. Like it's not a big deal.
Not
I don't
even
spit
from
on
there.
people at games."
Right. Crazy.
Yeah.
But it's anyway. Philadelphia's rough.
Before we
I
end
don't
it
even
up,
know if I would want to go there.
what I did like in this episode as well, again, portraying the kind of pain and anguish behind Nate's actions. The text from his mother. Your dad saw you on the press conference today. He didn't like that you swore. And I remember when he said he said shitty. He's about a shitty team. I was like, ooh, he said shitty. And I remember it just triggered me for some reason. Shitty's not even a bad word, but it triggered me, and I like that use of it because it's like,
Yeah.
oh. And every time it just reminded Nate, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, because you try so extra hard, you're missing the point and you end up doing the wrong thing and doing it the wrong way. It's not necessarily about like, yes, it's hard to get parental approval, but how do you think you can get approval acting like that?
Mm.
But do you think he's going to learn that
Is
lesson?
there a way we can like Nate at the end of the day?
Sorry?
Is that possible?
I hope we
Is there
like
a way
Nate
we can
again.
like him
I don't like
I
hating
if
mean,
he like
people.
comes full circle?
again, it could work. We
Gets
would like
humbled?
him because if Ted finds a way to like him, it would be
Right.
through Ted and through the team. The team would have
Sure.
to accept him in some way, and obviously you'd have to turn
Yeah.
against Rupert in some way.
Rupert
is
fires
straight up
him.
villain. He's straight up the villain. Like there's
Oh
no
yeah,
redemption.
that's not.
I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
I
see
don't
that
see that.
switching.
But I think this is a great return to form. I love this episode as a way to kind of. I like that it didn't come back with everyone like we're a team, we love each other. No, it's kind of like sometimes when you're
Mhm.
apart for a while, you need, or not even apart, but sometimes you need that reminder, like that your team has your back, that you're together, this family. And I think this episode was that reminder that no matter how things change, no matter how scary those changes are, as long as you have the people that you care and love around you, you can make those things work. So I love you guys. Love you guys. Team Nerdy Bunch. What did you nerdies think of this first episode? Are you excited? Was the wait 17 months worth it to you? Find us on social media at the Nerdy Bunch. And if you haven't already, Raven and I did a full season review for the last couple of months of The Last of Us. Great show. Check out that podcast on the same channel if you're subscribed to this. So check that out. All the episodes for season 1 are currently up right now. Tune in next week for episode 2 of season 3 of Ted Lasso. Thank you, Raven.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Dave.
My name's English Dave, and this has been a Nerdy Bunch. This has been a Nerdy Bunch.
Has it been?
Has it been? Oh, it has. This has been a Nerdy Bunch review, spoiler review for Ted Lasso season 3, episode 1. And as always, Tim.
Keep it nerdy.
Peace.